Mm-hmm.
One thrown in between.
It's interesting because it kind of leads into my next question with what have you seen change? But it sounds like the changes that are occurring now you've had in your stable, if I can use that term, or in your gym for the last decade anyway.
Yeah, I guess when I bought the studio, it was 3 rooms. It's a small space, but it was, as I said, 90 square meters, but it was predominantly a cardio room, a massage room, and also at the back of the space, the third room was traditional weights. You had lat pull downs and hamstring curls and chest presses and all that sort of stuff. Well, now there's nothing in this room except for 4 pieces of equipment. The rest is just all open space. So probably the biggest change I've seen is now that we've taken away 1 and 2 dimensional movement, and now we've brought in 3-dimensional movement, which is really what life's all about. So in other words, instead of, and I'm not saying 1 and 2 dimensional movement is wrong. Please don't think that at all. I don't think now at this stage of our evolution that we can honestly say that there is a wrong or a right movement. I don't believe there is, because the body's designed to do all movement. What there is, though, is there is a movement that is more applicable to the client that will help them live a happier, safer, longer life.
Mm-hmm.
If we can now start to understand the brilliance of what 1 and 2-dimensional movement means and how it will transition into a 3-dimensional movement and how it may in fact help that person become stronger, well, then we're on the right track. So that's been a big change. I think, secondly, that we've really gone away from the information stage. So, Jeff, you and I both know that science has really driven our industries down a path, and unfortunately, not that that was wrong or right, it was just a vehicle that was taking us in a direction. Well, now we understand very clearly that science hasn't always been correct because it's been applicable to the client who's been in front of us.
Mm-hmm.
So if we look at science and define it, science is predominantly a very specific question that is put into a very specific environment to gain a very specific answer. When a client come into me, the environment they're in hasn't and doesn't relate to that a lot of times, because that environment may need to take into account their hydration, their rest and recovery, their nutrition. It may need to take into account their emotional state, which science doesn't take into account. So a lot of times we've got to be very careful with the science. We can blend them together, but we need to understand where they fit in. So we are now getting back to, in our training modalities, more of an intuitive observational skill, which is fantastic, and becoming far more successful. The last point that I can see the biggest change happening is we've gone from a very serious environment to a much more enjoyable environment. When you walk into my studio, I call it basically an adult crash. It's we do stuff that challenges the body in a fun manner. Everything from crawling to standing to throwing to twisting to turning to pushing to shoving. Is there a strength component? You bet there is. Is there a relevance to their goals? You bet there is. We train everything from Olympic athletes to kids to elderly to disease to bone on bone. It's all relevant, but irrelevant to whatever their goals are.
You're only on for a short time, unfortunately. We're in the Fiction to Function mini conference. What skills or knowledge are you going to be able to share with us on the day?
I think one of the biggest skills we